Hello and welcome to this video about the GPhoto2Server. This piece of software right there. I've already opened it, but let me start from a clean slate there and show you what I'm doing. So what I have here, I have a Raspberry Pi. This is a small computer inside this little case, and I have a battery. External battery that uses just USB power to give it to the Raspberry Pi, which gives me this basically mobile rig, and I have it connected through a USB cable to my camera, the Canon EOS 600D. And given this, you can put the camera on tripod and you can fixate this on a tripod, and this lasts for quite a while, and you can control your camera remotely. Currently my Raspberry Pi is acting as an access point, so it has its own Wi-Fi, and I've connected with my iPhone to that Wi-Fi. You can probably not see this with this camera, but let me try to show you. Like, it has the IP address of a router there. It says 192.168.0.1. 192.168.0.1. So this is where I connect to with my browser. I go to HTTP, and let me basically share my iPhone screen there. You can see what I'm doing. If I go to HTTP, I have to put this colon, 2 slashes, 192.168.0.1. This gets me to the GPhoto2Server. Actually, from the beginning, it should look like this. You have a camera selection. If I go ahead and switch off my camera, it looks like this. The camera is not there in the list. The list is empty. But if I switch my camera on, back on, and refresh this page, I have this list of cameras where I can see my camera. So I click on select, and I have this UI that's been tailored for iPhone. Let me show this in the landscape mode. So I have 4 options here, like the X, the disconnect one. You already saw how this acts. If I just disconnect from a camera, I am going back to the previous screen, and then I have three main tabs, like camera, files, and scripts. How can I make this header go away? Safari. Anyway, if I click on camera, I have the main control interface. Yeah, that went away finally. I have a capture, download and delete, reload, all their favorites, and then I have all the settings from the camera. And of course I have the live view here. So live view is one of the cooler features that I have in GPhoto2Server since the 2nd version. If you just click this checkbox, it should show you the live view, and this is what the camera is currently pointing to the monitor. So let me show you that. So here's the camera, and it's pointing right to my monitor over here, where you can see what I'm actually sharing. Let me try to make it point a bit higher so it could capture more of that. When I'm looking at the live view, it actually shows you what's there on the monitor, and you can see this quick whatever word it's over there on the monitor, because it's coming from the lower, from this part of the frame is getting into the live view there. Let me switch back to the iPhone display so you can see it better. And this is the live view, and while I'm scrolling it, and if I put something bright on the monitor, and you can see it appears on the live view. Or actually, let me move my camera around a bit. If I move it like that, so I should probably be able to see my Raspberry Pi. But let me just change the shutter speed there. If you can see, I'm able to change the shutter speed right away from these settings, and with a higher shutter speed, my previews are all getting way brighter. So now you can see my Raspberry Pi there. And let me point it back to the monitor, which was very dark previously. Now it's very bright. Supposed to be, at least that's the monitor. And or actually, let me point the camera back so you would be able to see on the previews what I'm doing. So as you can see, the frame rate isn't great. on the live view. This is because the Raspberry Pi has built-in Wi-Fi, this Pi 0, and this Wi-Fi is pretty weak. If you would have something along the lines of this, like this Wi-Fi dongle, let this load there. By the way, yeah, I have the manual focus there. Try to focus on it. Yeah, that's better. So if you have something like this, your Raspberry Pi would have a much better Wi-Fi, and you would have much smoother live view. But I don't care, because in order to plug this in, I need something different than the Pi 0, because Pi 0 only has one USB port there. And for me to have more than one, I would have to use... Yeah, one moment, I want to put this back. I would have to use like Raspberry Pi Model B, and it consumes more energy, so this battery pack might not suffice and might have the powering problems, and that's something about Raspberry Pi I just hate. And I don't really care for, you know, super fast and smooth live view, so this suffices for me at least. And then we have all the settings there, and actually let's go in the order. We have a capture, and download and delete, and the capture is pretty simple. I click the button, I heard the shutter going off, so if, the image was captured. Let's go to the files actually straight away, and we have here like a directory, directories, slash is just the root directory. Then we have the store. Inside the store we have the CIM, as you normally do on your cameras 100 Canon. And then we have a couple of images. I click on the thumbnail for this one, and I see that, yeah, this is the shot I just made. And if I click on the JPEG, this is the full file. It takes a while to load. If I rotate the image like that, oops, let me close this really quickly. I can share it, I can save it to the camera roll, I can share it to Facebook, Instagram, or open it in some utilities where I can edit the image. So right away you can post it. It's transferred wirelessly from your camera without any, you know, any necessity to turn the camera off, take out the SD card, put it into some adapter, and then download it to your phone, etc. You have a delete button here, or you can actually select multiple files. I'll click a select all to do that, or deselect all, and then delete selected, so it's going to delete all those files. You have a download and load thumbnails. Actually, to show you the thumbnails, let me capture something again. And yeah, the preview is good, but the image itself was way overblown. And let me switch to the favorites again and set the shutter speed to something slower. Yeah, and capture one more time. And go to files again. I click again on the same directory just to reload its contents. I could select all, load thumbnails. Now I have thumbnails for all of those pictures. Yeah, the second one looks way better with a faster shutter speed, but anyway, delete selected. So this is how we work with files there, but this is just the capture, download, and delete. Download will not download to your smartphone, it will download to the computer that the camera is connected to, in this case it's the Raspberry Pi. So just something to be aware of. The reload will reload the settings of the camera to show you here, because you might go and change the settings on the camera itself, like you can change the shutter speed right on the camera, and in order to reflect this change in here in GPhoto2Server web interface, you would have to reload it. And we have a button to choose all of favorite settings, and in order to add the settings to a favorite, you just push this checkbox right near it, and then it remains in your favorites. And if you don't want it, you go back to all and uncheck this checkbox. For instance, I can have this EOS remote release, switch to favorites, and now I have the remote release there. So we have a lot of settings there. One of the settings that's most important and that you should change right away, actually I have it in my favorites, so let's go to favorites, is this setting for the capture target. it should be memory card, because often by default camera switches it when you plug it into GPhoto2 library, but in connects to this, it sets it to internal RAM. So what is internal RAM? It's an internal memory of your camera, which is not the same as the SD card. SD card is a memory card. Internal RAM is some internal random access memory that gets cleared once you turn off your camera. And it doesn't hold more than a couple of shots, I believe, maybe not even more than one. And I have no idea actually how to even retrieve the shots from there. So that's a weird setting that might come handy for some scenarios when you don't want the camera to spend time right into the SD card, and maybe you have the camera connected to a fast computer, and you could retrieve directly shots from the internal RAM of the camera onto a fast computer and store it into, I don't know, SSD disk, or just keep it in RAM and store it in the background. So just do something to retrieve the images faster from a camera, which might be necessary for the time lapses, but we'll talk about time lapses later. But now let's just look at that. So we have the live view, we have all the controls that we need to remotely control the camera. We have aperture, shutter speed, ISO, white balance here in the favorites, so we can just control all this remotely from your smartphone, which is pretty convenient. But you could control those on your camera right away. So this is convenient for, I don't know, doing selfies or doing group shots, but probably you wouldn't want to hustle with this whole rig just for, you know, for doing some selfies or group shots. So what's more interesting in here, it's you of course have the files scene. It's that you don't have to actually, you know, extract the SD camera to get the images and post them somewhere online, or just even store them in your, I don't know, iPad, if you connect it to an iPad, for example. It's of course still, you would have to manually download them one by one and store, so not super convenient for the batch processing, but works for some shots. And the most important part, I guess, is the scripts there, but it's the most complicated one. This is where you can automate your camera, and you can write a script that does something. For example, I'm using it for shooting time lapses.